Public Works Committee meeting at 6:32. I'd like to make a motion to consider approval of the minutes of the Special Works Committee meeting held on April 9th, 2019.
Second.
Thank you, Bill. Number 3, review the committee's assigned responsibilities under ordinance 2019-0-022. Dave, you want to take that?
Sure. So we've been doing this the last times we made major changes to the committee. We kind of just spent like 2 or 3 minutes just going over the duties of the committee, just in case there's any questions or as to what the committee's duties are. So that's why this is on all 3 committees tonight. So again, as a reminder, Public Works, the following functions: they oversee the village infrastructure and maintenance of streets, sewers, and water lines under village jurisdiction, oversee the flood mitigation program, and the maintenance of supporting infrastructure, detention, retention under village jurisdiction, oversees outsourced services for engineering maintenance. This is a little bit old and probably something we need to update because we also, of course, now have Colby as a in-house engineer, so we'll be updating this code in the near future. And then oversee coordination, communication with other jurisdictions and agencies.
Okay. Any questions? Anything you want to add, Pat?
Yeah, I get, maybe just in general about committees. First of all, congratulations to the 3 new committee members that'll be here on these 3 committees. The way I always describe committees when people ask me and to elected officials that, this is it's not quite informal, but it's a little bit less formal than the board meetings. This is your opportunity to vet items, ask questions of staff, of the attorneys, of people presenting, things like that. They are, I'd imagine your fellow trustees that are not here for these committee meetings, when items come up to the board, they will have expected that you have vetted them and that your recommendation of approval carries a lot of weight with them. So this is a kind of fact-finding, and to get all the, the nitty-gritty done, this is the place to do it. So congratulations, and look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Number 4, discuss intergovernmental agreement with Metra for the Oak Park Avenue train station warming shelter. John, do you want to take that one?
Yes, sir, thank you. This was, if you recall, this was placed on the March 12th Public Works Committee. We decided to bring it forward for the new committee members for rediscussion. Because of the history of the Oak Park Avenue train station, they did not place warming shelters, as you see at the 80th Avenue train station. There was ongoing discussions about having a warming shelter added to the north side of the tracks at that station. After discussing with Metra, they were willing to offer $75,000 towards a construction of a station. And this is for the request to the committee to not only agree with what was discussed at the March 12th committee, but also to, now that we have the IGA from Metra, is to agree to move this to the board level so the IGA could be signed and agreed upon, so we can move forward with beginning planning and construction of the warming shelter / storage facility. Right now, the anticipated total, we don't have a construction estimate right now, but we did have approximately $250,000 for the construction estimate. And again, Metra's agreeing to offer $75,000 towards that. Plus, we've had some preliminary discussions on discounting or allowing us a flagger, because as you know, flagger costs can become pretty expensive when you're doing this type of project. So again, we're just asking for your recommendation and approval to move forward to the board level for entering into an IGA with Metro.
Bill or Diane, you guys have any questions?
I have one question. Is it the same company that's gonna construct it that did the original station?
Without having a bid out there, I couldn't answer that for you.
Oh, okay. Just thinking about the concrete and the steps and, you know.
Oh, you're referring to the 80th Avenue?
Yes.
station. No, this is for Oak
This is
Park.
Oak Park.
Oh, okay, Oak Park Avenue, okay,
We'll have to go off the date for it.
all right.
My only question is,
Go ahead.
is it something that's been budgeted for? We
Yes.
have it in
Yeah, it's been
budget?
budgeted.
Yeah, this is something honestly, it's been probably requested in the budget for a number of years, and, you know, we finally reached out to Metro, and they agreed to do this year, so this, we should jump at this, because Metro hasn't always, been able to do this, so.
And just for your edification, this is an agreement, this is not an agreement to spend the funds right now, this is just to approve the IGA with them. I will come back to committee with, with a construction, contract with actual cost for what, our anticipated build cost is gonna be.
All right, so what do you need from us?
Just approval to, enter into the IGA and, forward it to the board to enter into the IGA with Metro.
I'll make a motion to move it to the, May 21st board meeting.
Correct.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 5, discuss process for qualified bidders and request for proposal qualifications for local vendors.
Thank you, trustee Glatz. Internally, staff has been discussing with our village attorney, Conley, about the processes of what's going to be determined as an RFP and RFQ. We've been discussing that, and I think Pat will talk a little bit about that. Give also the committee an overview of what our processes are when we determine what an RFP or an RFQ should be. And then the second part of that, I think John will be able to add a little bit more of that, of what we do as relates to local vendors and maybe some ideas that we can get some guidance from the committee of how we could go out and, promote, vendor, village, local vendors for village jobs, so.
That's what I was just gonna say, what can we do to promote from within? But go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, just generally, oftentimes you'll hear RFP, RFQ, and bid used interchangeably. There are some important differences for the committee to understand. When a bid comes before you, that's something that by state law is required to go to the lowest responsible bidder. So, and those are things that, generally, the skill of one company versus another company really doesn't matter there. That's, hey, we're going out to buy pencils, we're going out to buy paper clips. Those are very easy answers, but a lot of public works contracts, so you'll get a lot of bids in this committee, cement, sidewalk, things like that. Those you have to go with the lowest responsible bidder. Does that mean every single time you have to choose the absolute lowest money amount? No. The word responsible in there is very important. It can't be your staff who makes recommendations and this board or this committee that will make recommendations to the full board, and ultimately the full board, has to determine that this company can do the work. And if there are doubts about that, your staff does a great job. They'll do background checks if they've had prior issues in the past. Maybe working with the village, things of that nature can take someone out of a responsible bidder. When you get into the RFP, RFQ world, the rules are not as stringent. There's no state law on that. When you think RFP, RFQ, you're thinking specialized skill. Things where it may not always be advantageous to the village to absolutely have to go with the lowest price. You may want the best artist to build a statue or attorneys, architects, engineers, things like that. If you think, the key word there is there's some specialized skill involved where the village has the right to pick who it believes best serves the village, and price is not always the determining factor in that. More specifically between RFQ and RFP, qualifications, that's more of a preliminary type of offering that the village sends out. Village may not know exactly what they want at the end of a project, when they go for RFQ, but they want to find the best, the most qualified firm in whatever field that is to partner with them and work jointly to come together on things like that. So you may see some RFQs there. RFP, the P is for proposals. You know, the village wants to see, okay, what are you gonna build? What are you gonna make? And then the village is gonna, you know, you will choose the best one. Again, not always based on, you know, who's the cheapest. And again, I guess with the bidding criteria, you guys have a purchasing manual. The village that covers all of this. You know, state law indicates that all public works contracts need to be bid, and then it says bid in accordance with your ordinance. So our ordinance is that purchasing manual. It's important to, you know, breeze through that. You know, we make sure that we follow that. If we don't, you know, those bids won't come before you. We'll rebid it. And then the last point is, you know, this committee and this board always has the opportunity to waive the competitive bidding requirements, again, when it so suits the village. That has to be done by a 3/4 vote of the entire Board of Trustees. That could happen when, you know, maybe you're going out for pencils, but you're going out for a certain kind of pencil. And there's only one company that makes that pencil, you're going right to them. So it may make sense for the village. I've seen it happen a lot where, let's say, you know, one construction company's in town, they're here, they're mobilized, all of a sudden you get a quick project, and it's gonna save the village a lot of money to go with that contractor who's here and mobilized. That makes sense. It saves the village money, things like that. I think your staff, most of the time, will bring that to you and give you a justification, ultimately your decision whether you wanna waive those, formal bidding requirements, but always an option for you. That's kind of bidding 101. There's more intricacies, and sure enough, every bid that comes in, there's usually some little problem that we have to work through and make sure that they're responsible and things like that. But your staff does a great job. Your consultants help your staff, and it's a pretty smooth process here at the village.
Hey, Pat, can you mention anything on sole source?
Yeah, I guess I was kind of talking about that, you know, sole source bidding. Obviously, if there's only one company that makes the product that
Like
you
a lot
need.
of ours is like a motor that fits only our
Right.
pump station.
There you go. So, you know, those are gonna be situations where you're waiving competitive bidding because it makes no sense. You have to get that motor. You know, if you bid it out to everybody, somebody may be able to make something close, but it's not gonna work for your pump. Again, your staff does a good job of, you know, identifying that to you, and that'll be clear in the agendas and all the paperwork that this is a sole source bid.
Or sometimes we might purchase something, say, through a joint purchasing.
good
Like State of Illinois SWAT cars, I mean, they get it as a pool and you get the best price, so there's a lot of times we'll have exceptions.
Yeah, you will hear joint co-op, joint purchasing, and there's probably a ton of acronyms that
Right.
John and Kevin and
JOC.
Colby, and they look for. The important thing to recognize with those, the state has bid those out. So the folks that come from the state there have already won a bid, and, you know, that bidding process does meet your requirements for formal bidding. So, you'll see some interesting acronyms, but, your staff goes through the right process. Bidding?
You done?
I'm done.
Any questions, Bill Squared?
No, it sounded perfectly clear.
It did.
Number 6, discuss 2019 pavement management program, street resurfacing. Kobe, you want to take that?
Thank you, trustee Glatz. Yeah, this is about this year's PMP resurfacing program. This project was originally 11.2 miles of pavement improvements. We received 5 bids, and the low responsible bidder was Gallagher Asphalt. We reduced the approximate length of this project from 10 to 10.5 miles, and it's going to do some field adjustment to meet the available budget. So we are looking for a recommendation to award this project to Gallagher Asphalt.
My question is our roads has been something that we've won awards on. We've done really well. I don't like reducing what we originally thought we should have done. Is there anywhere, Kevin, of something else we're doing where it's not really necessary, where we could do the whole thing?
You know, most of our projects we do put on there that we already reduced projects out of our budget to meet the balanced budget. I would hate to reduce anything else. Like, it's just gonna affect something else, but we could always take a look into it.
Okay, I struggle with cutting back other roads. So can we pass as is, and then by next meeting, at the board level, if Kevin has a way that, or Dave, or Brad, they figure out a way we could do this, we can?
Sure. Yeah, I'd say, trustee Glatz, make the motion to pass as is. I think you've given, you know, your staff direction. If they in fact do that, we can explain it at the attorney level why there's more money and things like that. But I'd pass the proposal as is and see if we can squeeze a few more pennies to do some more roads.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion then to send this to the May 21st board meeting.
Second.
Thanks, Bill. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 7, receive comments from the public. Mr. Stuckley.
It's for Kevin and John. I think it's a great idea for the warming shelter, especially since the train schedule. There's an earlier train and the train station isn't open, so there's like sometimes there's 18, 20 people waiting for the train. So, you know, when it's real cold in the winter, it's going to come in handy. Where will it actually be placed? I know it's on the north side, but is it going to be close to the crossover? So when we're going to have to cross over from the north to catch the south onto the south side where the train pulls in.
The attachments are kind
Yeah, I looked. I couldn't really see.
of, in relation to the crossover, I believe the east corner of the facility is almost in line with the crossover. So that's how close it is.
Okay. Let's see. Is it going to be enclosed, fully enclosed, or partially?
It will have, heaters at the ceiling level, and then it'll be partially enclosed.
Good heaters.
I hope so.
Thanks.
You want the printouts, Mike?
Nah, that's okay. I looked at the packet. What's going to be stored in there? Is that helping Norm out at all, or?
Yes, so when the facility was constructed, the storage was found to be inadequate shortly thereafter.
Mhm.
Right now, we've had issues with his ability to store things, and requirements to store food goods on site, and storage. We'd like to give him a local storage.
Oh, yeah, he definitely needs a storage, yeah. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Mike. Let the record reflect there are no more comments. Public Works meeting adjourned 6:49. Whoever's next.
Any motion?
Go ahead.
You need a motion to close that one? No.
No, I just adjourned it.
You close it. We're good.
Okay.
Go back there.
I would like to open the meeting for the Public Safety Committee. Let the time reflect, it is 6:50 PM. I'd like to make a motion to consider approval of the minutes of the Public Safety Committee meeting held on March 12th, 2019.
So moved.
Second?
Thank you.
Just ask for all those in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 3, I'd like to review the committees. I'd like to make a motion to review the committee's assigned responsibilities under ordinance 2019-0-022.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Yep.
I'm
Yeah,
good?
we can go
Good?
ahead. Yeah,
Okay.
you can direct it as a chairman, Bill.
Dave, can you take that?
Sure.
Pat?
It's a little bit shorter. This is obviously overseeing all public safety matters, including police, fire, and emergency service. And of course, as everyone knows, we have an outsourced ambulance service that we also handle. So that's the main function of this committee.
You want to add anything, Pat? No, okay.
Approve it.
Do I have a motion to approve the committee responsibilities?
So moved.
Yeah, you guys approved them at the last meeting, so that's
We're
just
good.
it's just kind of an overview, you know, for you guys and the staff, just a kind of yearly reminder of.
You don't really need to
Okay,
vote on it.
okay,
Okay.
You're stuck with those.
okay. Moving on to item number 4, discuss the hazardous material spiller pay ordinance.
Yeah, thank you, trustee Brennan. What we have before us is a draft ordinance about a fee structure on recouping our costs for hazardous material incidents. This is just something that we go by state law to help recover the costs pertaining to the use of different materials that are, you know, at a fire scene, car accident, crime scene. So it's a way to try to recoup some of those monies back for our services. So been working with the attorney for those, to change in the ordinance. And what we're looking for is for this to go to the board next week, so we could get that approved.
You guys have any questions?
One question, does that talk about, I understand hazardous materials that go through I-80 all the time through our city, but would that consider hazardous material as far as, you know, a gas tank that spilled?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah,
Goes
for
down that
cleanup
far.
costs and our part in assisting with the cleanup cost of that.
Oh, okay.
And Pat, that's pretty significant, right, to get the
Yes.
gasoline off the
Can
road?
be, yeah.
Especially if it hits the sources.
You have any questions, Mike?
Nope.
No?
I'll make a motion to move it to the board.
Second?
All right, motion carries.
All those in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item number 5, receive comments from the public.
I guess this would be for Pat. Pat, do we have a shelter-in-place plan for something like if we have a hazardous spill?
Yes. we do.
Okay.
It's part of our emergency operations plan, depending on what the incident might be. We had an exercise about 2 years ago where we had we had a scenario based on downtown Tinley. And how that would work is we would utilize our method of trying to reach the public via code red, TV, things like that, and tell people to shelter in place in their homes, give them directions, depending on what that situation is. If it was a mass evacuation, we would also conduct a mass evacuation if we had to get people to move out of a particular area. But for shelter in place, it would be, determined on a hazardous material based on what it calls for that evacuation distance, or whether people should shelter in place per that distance that they say for that particular hazardous material.
Would we, I know in Beach Park they had that spill, would we have police officers going door to door if it was like a really hazardous situation?
Absolutely. And we've had situations where we would have evacuations where we've done that before, so it would be our police officers, it would be some of our firemen, anybody that would be able to assist in trying to get the word out.
Okay, and then I would assume then we would call the off-duty police officers on duty, because I don't want to touch a nerve here, because it seems like we're still shorthanded with police. So if we have the police go door to door, then we're going to need additional people to get back on the road.
It would all be dependent on the situation and what the manpower of the sergeant or the commander that's on duty feels that he needs any additional personnel. That would be their call on calling people back.
Okay, how many times did we contact as far as pricing, how much to charge per hour per responder and to clean up? How many times?
I don't,
It's $250 an hour.
Yeah, how many towns did we contact?
I'm sorry, what's that?
How many towns did we contact? It's in the packet. I think we contacted a couple towns for what they charge, and that's what we came up with, the pricing.
Yeah, Pat, I'd have to defer to you.
yeah,
for that.
I
I think
don't
it's
know.
state
We
standard.
follow what the Public Act goes by and what the maximum we can do or
Yeah.
within it, so.
I think
I know Chief Reader has done extensive research in this.
I think
contacted.
it'd be a good idea if we actually contacted Beach Park and see what the cost was for them, and, what else do we, what the cost was, the total cost, and, how much they actually had to pay, just so, in case we ever have an incident like this, because Beach Park just happened 4 weeks ago.
Correct.
Okay, and then I just noticed today that the Center for Disease Control and Prevention Plan, I think this previous weekend, they went and did a door-to-door survey, and talk to the residents and then first responders too, so maybe we can get some information on what they received from them, so then we'll be all prepared for something. Hopefully it never happens, but at least, we'll be on, be on the ball on it. Okay, thanks.
If there are no more comments, I'd like to adjourn the Public Safety Committee meeting.
So adjourned.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to open the meeting for the Administration and Legal Committee. Let the record show it's 6:57. Item 2, consider the approval of minutes of the Administrative and Legal Committee meeting held on January 29th, 2019.
And then
Like
just
a
as,
motion?
yeah, just a note before you guys motion and vote on this, and I think for everybody's edification too, when you're voting on minutes, you don't have to have been there, you don't even have to have been on the committee, you don't even have to have been elected at the time. You can always vote on minutes. Your vote there is stating that you believe that the clerk took those minutes down correctly.
Okay.
So if you're not there, you can vote on them, but oftentimes when you are a member of the board, you're not there, you'll hear a vote to abstain, but you can vote on them, so feel free to do so.
So moved.
So moved. Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. Item number 3, review the committee's assigned responsibilities under ordinance 2019-0-022. I think we've checked on this, the last 2 committees. Need anything more to add to it, Dave?
Well, again, this committee covers a whole host of various duties as listed in the code, some of which you see on tonight, from reviewing the organizational issues of government. We'll sometimes bring issues with federal and state legislation to this committee. Human resources, I think, as you were, we've brought through compensation plans through this committee before. Service agreements, and then tonight, code changes and update to the code. So a whole host of administrative things go through this committee.
Okay, any questions? Thank you, Dave. Item number 4, litigations with the RTA settlement agreement. Brad, I think you're up for that?
Yeah, thank you, trustee. In 2011, the village joined in with litigation initiated by the Regional Transportation Authority, Cook County, and a number of other municipalities against the city of Kankakee, the village of Shanahan, and a number of sales tax broker entities, and certain retailers regarding the sourcing of taxable sales and the sales taxes resulted that would have occurred outside of the plaintiff's jurisdictions. Locally, one of the more identifiable situations that affected us was the Plass Appliance store that was in the Park Hills Shopping Center. All of the sales taxes from that business were reported to Shanahan, not to Tinley Park. To give you an example of what this litigation was about. Anyway, this has been ongoing litigation. We have, in 2016, we entered into a settlement agreement with some of the brokerage entities. We now have an agreement to a settlement with the city of Kankakee. Our share of that settlement will be no more than $7,000. This is, at this point, a relatively routine matter to settle this out. So looking for approval to move this to the board.
Okay, can I get a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. So be moved to the, 21st meeting? Okay. Item number 5, discuss the 2018 codification of ordinances.
This is just our yearly codification of ordinances. 2018 ordinances will be added to the code. This is something next year that we might not be doing because hopefully we'll be adding them more often. So it's just a routine thing we do yearly around this time.
Cleaning your house.
Cleaning house and
It's not housekeeping.
not really housekeeping. We're updating everything.
Okay.
Ongoing management.
Yeah. And so I just need this, we'll put this on the village board for the 21st with your approval.
Okay. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Make a motion.
Make a
to move
motion.
to the board.
Make a motion to the board to approve it?
Motion. So second?
Second.
Need a second.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Item number 6, comment from the public. Let the record show that there's no public comment. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the administration and legal meeting. All
So
those in
adjourned.
favor? Huh?
So adjourned, Chairman.
So adjourned.